Hi, my name is Robert. Please read the comments in the About section of this video. It has valuable information and updates. My YouTube channel has a disclaimer video that I encourage you to watch. And please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you found what you're looking for. Thank you very much for watching. Started out today, went by my storage facility, picked up my 19T turbo for a project that I'm working on. So I'm going to take it apart and go from there on figuring out what I'm going to do with this thing, rebuild it or whatnot. Boy, I really need to get a dash cam for all of the driving I do. I just passed a little incident on the interstate where a car was actually turned upside down. Amazes me how people try to kill themselves on the interstate. I'm here at Master's Touch Automotive. This is my local mechanic for Volvo stuff and other things that I refer people to. This is the 19T that I pulled off of the 2000R in the salvage yard. Let me get it up on the table. I'm going to remove the wastegate actuator, test it. It has a pin there and two, I believe, 10mm bolts down there. After that, I'm going to remove the bypass or blow-off valve, check that diaphragm. Then I'm going to separate the turbo CHRA from the intake side of the turbo housing. But that's the compressor wheel there, 6-bladed compressor wheel. And as you can see on the tag there, it says TDO4HL 19T. I'm going to pull this apart, clean it up, see if it needs rebuilt mainly, and sending this front housing off for a project that I'm working on with the machine shop. So I'm going to pull this pin, pull those two bolts to pull that wastegate actuator off. Then I'm going to clean off wherever that clip ring is, pull that clip ring off of there, and the intake side of this turbo should just pull right off of the CHRA. One thing I'm concerned and interested in is the orientation of the CHRA and the intake housing. I purchased a pair of snap ring pliers from Harbor Freight over the weekend, their Black Friday sale, and I'm going to see if I can get this snap ring out of this turbo with it. These snap ring pliers have a reversible pull head. When they're installed this way, you squeeze them and they pull the clip rings in. The snap ring pliers I got from Harbor Freight are not big enough to get the snap ring out of this turbo, so I borrowed my mechanic buddy's snap ring pliers. I put them on the snap ring, squeezed it together, and slowly pulled it out. Now the spring is loose, and this thing should just slide right off the front of this CHRA. So let me grab it with two hands up. I'm trying to work it off now. See, it just comes right off like that. So this is the housing. Now I'm going to pull the bypass blow-off valve off. So this is the 19T wheel. It has a little bit of play. You can see it needs to be rebuilt, front bearing wear. I'm going to pull this 17mm off so I can get the coolant line off. Then I'm going to pull this 10mm bolt off and pull the clamp off so I can slide the CHRA out of the angled exhaust flange. And this is the angled exhaust flange because it has that pitch on it. I don't think it's a 45-degree angle, but it does have some angle on it. I have the coolant tube out of the way. Now I'm taking the bolt out of the clamp. Then I'm going to open up that clamp and slide that off. Let me lock this in the clamp. Get this out with two hands. Alright, pop the clamp loose. Now this should just slide right out of the exhaust flange. Sometimes you got to tap them a little bit, but be careful you don't damage it. I'm going to tap it right here on the housing with a mallet or something. It doesn't take much force just to break it loose. Boy, that CHRA was in that exhaust flange pretty tight. I got this wooden dowel, put it up against the CHRA, and tapped it out with this hammer on the end of the dowel. You don't want to strike that thing with a blunt hammer. Soft mallet, or just use something like this piece of wood to buffer it. Now I have the one out of the 19T, and I'm going to take it and that and put it in the vat for cleaning after I pull that bypass valve off real quick. There's a little carbon buildup in the edge of that exhaust flange. That may be why it was so hard for this thing to come out of there. But I'm going to clean all that and scrape all that stuff off so that whenever it goes back together nice and tight without any issues. If you see there, it has a pinhole there, and that pinhole aligns with that little stud on the exhaust flange. Here's the bypass valve out of it. It looks OEM or original. I don't see any holes in it. A lot of times you can hold them up and see light shine through them. However, it does have some oil on it. So it's either having oil blow by the turbine seal, compressor, turbo seal, or through the PCV. One or the other, there's oil getting through here on the compressor side. The stock bypass valves, as you can see, this one appears to be in good shape. But if you have a turbo part for rebuilding, especially if you plan to modify the boost pressure on the vehicle to cause it to boost at higher pressures, you probably want to replace this. If you're driving a car, you have a little pressure on it, it's boosting a little bit of pounds, maybe 8-10 pounds. When you lift your foot off the gas pedal suddenly, that turbo is still building pressure. So when the pressure starts to exceed what is desired in the intake, this valve will open up and relieve that pressure from the turbo. If it don't, the turbo will overpressurize the intake tube and probably just blow the tube off or split the tube or something like that. A turbo spins at real high RPM, and it will build more pressure than needed, especially when you all of a sudden shut the throttle off from the intake system by lifting your foot off the gas suddenly. Over here is the mechanic's parts cleaner. It's a hot cleaning machine. You turn the heater on, it takes a couple hours to warm up, then you turn the fan on. Now, as you can see here, I have a, I believe, 13T that's been through a couple of hot cycles. I have a 15G that's been through a couple of hot cycles, and as you can see, they're getting pretty clean. A couple of the CARs, this is the 15, and that's the 13T, and this is the 19 that I just dropped in here, and you can see how dirty it is. So I'm gonna run it through a couple of cycles. Man, I put this in here for about 5 minutes, and it's already cleaned a bunch of junk off of this 19T CHAR. So let me go ahead and run it another cycle, get these parts the rest of the way clean, and move on with my project. I'm going to take my plastic and brass brush and knock off some of the stubborn stuff off of those turbos that are in the cleaner. This is the little hand pump that you want to use to test your wastegate actuator. As you can see on the screen, it has different PSIs. You want to know that it can hold probably 10 PSI. As the wastegate actuator gets pressure, if the diaphragm is good, that arm will extend out and it'll hold pressure. So let me go ahead and pump this a couple times and see if my wastegate moves. I'm going to have to set the camera down to do that. We have 0 PSI, we have the lines hooked up, and the wastegate is in. So let me go ahead and put a little pressure on it. I got 3 pounds, should be coming out. I got 7 pounds, 8 pounds. I got about 9 pounds. Let me set it down. I had it up to 17 a minute ago. But as you can see, the actuator's coming out. And it's holding 20 pounds. So, it is holding pretty good. And we're going to call that a good wastegate actuator. After a couple of rounds in the parts cleaner, this is the 13T cleaned up. So I'm going to ship this off to the machine shop and have them do some modifications on it. This is the part that comes out the top. So your bypass valve housing goes on like that. I'm going to ship this off without a bypass valve in there and let the machinist have at it, along with a 15G and a 19T. So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys in the loop. There shouldn't be much difference between the intake of the 13T and the 15G, but I'm going to use this caliper and measure them and see if there's any difference. Alright, the measurement on the 13T is 41.08, and the measurement on the 15, it's 43.81. A minute ago I had 43.75. So that 15G is bigger than the 13T. And that appears to be the same going all the way through here. The 13T is 40.30, and then the 15G has a larger opening. It's 44.11. So not sure why the opening side is not as wide as the compressor wheel side, but that's what it is. Just wanted to show you a common find on these exhaust flanges that comes on your Volvos. If you look on the exhaust side, the side that bolts on your exhaust manifold, a lot of times you'll see cracks right there. See, there's a couple cracks there. There's a crack down inside there. It's normal to see it. It's not good, but it's not the end of the world. When you're putting these back together, you notice that there's a pin inside the intake housing right there. That pin aligns with this hole up there. So you set it in there, you fit it on there, and you push it all the way in until it's set all the way inside the housing. Let me show you how that looks real quick. Take it, get it somewhat aligned. You see the hole in there. You press it all the way in, and now it's ready for the clip ring. So when you lift it up and spin it over this way, you can see how tight it fits inside that intake side. Now, this one is the 13T CHRA, because if I took this and set it inside the 15G one, it'd have a lot of area left in it. So I find the pin, I line it up, I set it in there, get it dropped on the pin. Alright, I fit it inside there like that. Now when I look on there, you see how much extra space is around that housing? So we know this one doesn't fit in there. It's too small for this intake housing. Should be a real tight fit. Now this turbo is relatively tight. It does have a little bit of play in it. You see, moved a little bit, not much. And if you look around on the edges of it, you see there's a notch missing there, a small notch missing there. That is the balancing notches from when this assembly was balanced. And there's no notches on any other side. So let me show you the other one. This is the one from the 15G, and it's got a notch there and a notch there taken out for balancing. Real important for these things to be balanced because they spin so fast when they're in operation. so here are the three turbos, the 13T, the 15G, and the 19T. About 56, 56, and this one, let me get the right position on this one. That one's actually 58, and then when I measure this deal here, that's 45.75. When I measure this one here, I come up with about 43. And when I measure this one here, I come up about 41.5. So let me get them in my hand and confirm those measurements. I got a base measurement of 56 on the 13T, 56 on the 15G, and 58 on the 19T. Over here on the front of the compressor, I got a 40.5, a 43.5, and a 46.2. So that's how those size variations go from the 13T, the 15G, and the 19T. And here's the balancing marks on this 19T. As you can see, there's a lot of places where they notched out to balance this thing. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.